AM 1480 WLEA.
And it's time for the Newsmaker Show. Our guest this morning on this Thursday, September 6th, is a Steuben County Judge candidate, Chauncey Watches. Chauncey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Well, usually when we have political candidates on, we go over their bios, their biography information. I think most people at this point know yours. A longtime judge a longtime attorney in Canisteo, and the Bath Village Justice now for how many years, Chauncey?
Bath Village in town for 14 years.
Okay. And, all right, let's go back over it again. We've done this before, but let's do it again. Where did you go to college? Where did you go to law school?
Oh, I went to college up at Alfred State for 2 years. Transferred to Clarkson from there, got my bachelor's degree, and then went to law school in Vermont, at Vermont Law School.
And you're running now for Steuben County Judge. That's the Judge Peter Bradstreet seat. Tell us what kind of cases does Judge Bradstreet handle in the Steuben County Court?
The county court's responsible for the felony trials and the civil cases in the county. Our county court judge also handles a third of the family court cases. According to Judge Bradstreet, the calendar is probably going to be about 2/3 family court.
Okay. And I know there's limits on what you can ask judges on how they would rule or how they've ruled in the past. We can ask you the question: what makes a good judge, and what makes you? Why do you believe you would be good for this particular post?
Well, I've got a combination of things that I've done since my graduation from law school. Obviously, I was in the DA's office for 3 years. I came in as the Stott DWI prosecutor, and then I was promoted to the target crimes prosecutor, which involves serious felonies, repeat felony offenders. And then from there, I went into private practice down in Canisteo. I've been there for 30 years. That sometimes doesn't seem possible when you look back. And then 14 years ago, I was elected in the village of Bath, and then a couple years later, I also picked up the town of Bath. So I've been the judge there for 14 years. It's one of the busiest courts in the county, and I think all those things combine to give me, a lifetime of experience. I have been married to my wife for 39 years. I've got 4 children, 4 grandchildren. Over those years, that kind of experience, especially being in family court. I've been law guardian when they used to call them law guardians. Now they call them attorneys for the child, still on that list. I've done work as assigned counsel for the public defender. When they have a conflict, they assign cases out. So I've prosecuted, I've defended, I've been in family court representing people, with custody, visitation, neglect, all those issues on all sides. And I think that gives me the right background to step in and be ready to do this job, the 1st of January.
Talking with Attorney Chauncey Watches, who's also the Bath Village Justice, who's running for Steuben County Court Judge. And there's the upcoming primary next week between Chauncey Watches and Matthew McCarthy. Chauncey Watches, I'm on this website now, newyorkcourts.gov, and they've got a lot of interesting questions on there. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And these are, these come under the facts, the frequently asked questions. I thought some of them might be interesting questions.
Okay, go ahead.
All righty. Let's see. I have a warrant that's outstanding. If I come to court, will the judge put me in jail?
Most often, if somebody is surrendering themselves, they don't necessarily go to jail. There are circumstances where if it's a superior court warrant and the judges from the county court or the Supreme Court have asked for an amount to be set as bail, then they would have to be held at least until they get to that court. Most often in my court, if there's a reasonable explanation, it's something that it's in the mix, but it depends on the circumstances.
These are some interesting questions here. I was a crime victim. Do I need a lawyer to prosecute the accused?
As a crime victim?
That's what it says. It says, and these are from these aren't my problems for anyone just tuning in. These are I'm reading from the frequently asked questions sections of NewYorkCourts.gov. It says, I've been a crime victim. Do I need a lawyer to prosecute the accused?
Most likely not. The person that's responsible for prosecuting the crimes in the county is the district attorney. So they're representing the victims, and I know they have victims advocates in their office that work with people who have been victims of a crime. We used to have it when I was in the office to help that person out and to guide them along, because a lot of people have never been in court before at that point. Don't know what it is. I've had a burglary, things like that. I've been the victim of an assault. But usually in those cases, as far as the criminal end of it goes, they're represented by the district attorney's office.
Some of these questions are kind of interesting. How do I post bail, and do I get it back?
In New York State, bail is either posted by an individual that you know, or it's posted by, for example, a bail bondsman, which they take a percentage of the bail that's due, and they'll post a bond for somebody. It could also be in the form of a property bond, where you pledge your property for your attendance in court in the future. When cash bail is posted, there is a poundage, a percentage of that is withheld by the state of New York. The majority of the money comes back once the case is resolved.
Talking to Chauncey Watches this morning. He's an attorney in Canisteo and the Bath Village Justice. Chauncey Watches. Right now we're reading off NewYorkCourts.gov and just asking some questions that we see on it. It talks about court clerks. How can court clerks help me? And what can they do and what can't they do?
Well, the biggest thing that they can't do is they can't give you legal advice. For the most part, they can make sure, particularly in small claims areas, that the paperwork that you filed is the appropriate paperwork, but they can't give you legal advice. So court clerks can be very helpful. They're very helpful to the attorneys in Superior Court, making sure that everything's is there when it should be, and everything's there for the judge when everybody appears in court.
Here's an interesting one, and we're talking with attorney Chauncey Watches this morning, also the Bath Village Justice, running for Steuben County Court Judge. I hope you don't mind me asking these questions. I'm kind of getting into this now, Chauncey.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. How can I access court records?
Court records in New York State are available to the general public. So ordinarily you go in, request those from the court clerk. In our local courts, everything's recorded now, so that if you need a copy of the transcript, it's up to the individual to pay the cost of preparing that transcript. But the court system has recognized reporters who will go through. They'll prepare transcripts so that you can get a copy of those records.
Now, the next series of questions here is small claims, Chauncey. Does that apply in Steuben County Court?
It does not. It applies in the local courts. Town and village jurisdiction is up to $3,500. The only thing the judge can do in those cases is give an actual cash award. A lot of times we'll have people come in and say, well, I just want my stuff back. Well, the judges aren't authorized to do that. They're authorized to give a money judgment. So oftentimes people just, they want, somebody kept my TV, that kind of thing. I want to get my personal belongings back. We really aren't authorized to do that in justice court. So it doesn't apply, and it doesn't apply to county court, obviously, as far as, small claims. They get filed locally.
And the next section of this website, NewYorkCourts.gov, talks about traffic cases. I'm guessing you'd have to have you would have to have been going awfully fast to end up in Steuben County Court for a traffic case, a traffic ticket or speeding ticket.
Yeah, that's going to be handled in the justice courts, either in the city court or the town and village courts.
We're talking with Steuben County Court Judge candidate Chauncey Watches this morning. Chauncey, as far as the relationships go between the individual courts, the town and village courts and the city courts in Hornell and Corning, how do you feel that the working relationships go between the various courts and the Steuben County courts?
The county court's responsible for reviewing the decisions that the local court judges make on appeal. They go to the county court judge to say, was substantial justice done in the court below, or in the case of a criminal matter that gets appealed after a trial or after a hearing, they review to make sure there weren't mistakes made during that trial that affected the outcome. So that's how the county court relates to the local courts. As far as relationships between city courts and the village and town courts, most of the interaction there is by way of late night arraignments that we do for the other courts. If a judge isn't available, you can go to a neighboring town or a neighboring village to have that arraignment done. They're working right now on a plan to have public defender and the district attorney or a private defense attorney available for all arraignments. There was a lawsuit several years ago where 5 counties were sued because there wasn't a public defender available at those late night arraignments. We get calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And in a county this size, it's really impractical to expect an assistant DA or an assistant public defender to go out to every town and village court that might have an arraignment that particular night. They're trying to come up with a plan now in Steuben County to meet the requirements of the state as a result of that lawsuit. And it'll be an arrangement where different counties have different plans, and ours is still in the works. It's going to be presented to the Magistrates Association next Thursday night at a meeting to see if the Magistrates Association will vote in favor of this plan for Steuben County. And what in effect they're trying to do is just to make sure that, there's somebody there from the public defender's office, somebody there from the DA's office if they desire to be there for the arraignment, so that all parties can be heard. Ordinarily what happens now is 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll get a call as the town justice, whether it's for the town of Bath or a neighboring town where a judge wasn't available. We'll do the arraignment and set the earliest possible return date most cases, people ask for an attorney, so you want to make sure that they have the opportunity to appear with an attorney, so you stop the arraignment at that point, schedule the next available date, and get them right back into the court with an attorney, and the district attorney's office can be there also at that time.
Talking with Steuben County Court Judge candidate Chauncey Watts. Is going to take a quick break. Then we'll check the weather. Lots more questions for Chauncey Watches when we get back. Stay with us.
Not sure what's going to happen to your current internet provider? Switch to award-winning Empire Access, your local company. Local, reliable, better, offering the fastest internet in town. They're not going anywhere. Get fiber optic internet and TV for just $65 a month. If you need faster speeds, gigabit internet is available. Empire Access means faster streaming, surfing, and gaming. And when you need customer service, you get a live and local representative. Grab all the info and make the switch today at EmpireAccess.com. EmpireAccess.com.
And checking in with meteorologist Rob Carolyn.
Weather-wise, we've got a couple of storms in the forecast for today, Brian. We've got a cold front, a potent cold front headed our way. Temperatures across the Dakotas and northern Minnesota were in the 30s this morning. In fact, they had a frost at International Falls. We're not going to have a frost here, but when they start getting in the 30s, we're going to have a difficult time seeing above normal temperatures. Lots of clouds headed our way today. There'll be scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two. We're 75 to 80. Sunrise this morning was at 6:42. Sunset tonight at 7:37. We're going to be partly to mostly cloudy tonight. Any showers or storms lend during the evening. Nighttime lows 60 to 65. Tomorrow, very nice day develops around the region. We turn partly sunny. We're 75 to 80.
Thank you, Rob. And now getting back to Chauncey Watches. In the last segment, in one of your answers, you mentioned appealing a ruling by a judge. Wondering, Chauncey Watches, do all appeals go to the state appeals court?
Appeals from the justice court go to the county court, and then appeals from county court go to the appellate division in Rochester first. And in the appellate division, they'll make a decision, and you can take the appeal from there to the New York State Court of Appeals in Albany. That's the ultimate decider as far as New York State goes. And then, of course, from there, if it's a federal issue or something that they can work into, a Supreme Court issue, it'll go to the Supreme Court of the United States, or to a local, closer, the United States District Courts.
How often do people in court who don't like a ruling appeal the smaller stuff, a traffic ticket or a speeding ticket? I mean, how far have you ever seen somebody take, a traffic ticket, a speeding ticket, anything like that, to one of the higher courts?
Well, I remember years and years ago when they first put the seatbelt law in place. There was a case that made it all the way to Albany from a local court on a seatbelt ticket. So it can go as far as the Court of Appeals in Albany on any one of those cases. In 14 years, as far as vehicle and traffic issues, I can't recall an appeal on a speeding ticket in my court. As a general rule, there's been a few cases, small claims, where people didn't think that justice was done in a small claims case, and I would say over 14 years from my court, that may have happened maybe 3 or 4 times.
So sometimes you run into somebody in court who it doesn't matter how much money they spend on lawyers. If they got a speeding ticket and the fine was $25 or $50, they're not going to pay it.
Well, that's between them and the Department of Motor Vehicles. Then they enforce it once the decision's been made. If someone decides not to pay a ticket, their license gets suspended. There's various ways the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles can enforce the payment of those fines.
We've been talking with Steuben County Court Judge candidate Chauncey Watches just about any time. Any final thoughts now in the last 45 seconds or so, Chauncey?
Well, I'm asking everybody to vote for me. As I said earlier, everything that I've done has kind of pointed me in this direction, and it's really, as we've been saying, it's a lifetime of experience for me that I'm bringing to this job. The practice that I've done over 30 years, doing family court cases, those kind of things, and working in the office over there in Bath as a town and village judge for 14 years. It's the kind of experience that you only get. People talk about, oh, you can be a judge, you can do this. There's nothing quite like that experience when you put on the robe and you sit behind the bench. And doing it for as long as I have, I think I've got a good flavor for what I'm asking people to allow me to do, what I'm getting into. And I think I can help out the county for, a term as the county court judge and bring some valuable experience to the job.
Well, Chauncey Watches, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. If Matthew McCarthy, your opponent, would like to come on before the primary, we'll be sure to get him on. Chauncey Watches, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Brian.